Welcome back to Man Down Sports, man. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell. But really quick, man, I got a good episode. I'm not gonna be long. I'll be very quick, just to explain a couple of things. You see the thumbnail, you already know we're gonna be talking about the news that just broke earlier today with Kevin Durant after his meeting with Joe Tsai. And this is gonna be all about the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm going to let you know, I predicted this about a month ago on an episode that I'm going to play for you, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I said and what I thought should happen, what I thought was going to happen, and then I'll come back and explain all of that stuff. But for those of y'all who've been living under a rock, what happened today was Kevin Durant flew all over. I don't know where it was at, somewhere overseas to meet with the Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai to discuss, his trade request and if he still wanted to be traded and the future or his future with the Brooklyn Nets. And coming out of that meeting, I'm not sure who leaked what went on at the meeting and what was said at the meeting, but somehow the press got hold of Kevin Durant saying that he still wanted to be traded, but he would stay if they fired Steve Nash and Sean Marks. So he basically gave Joe Tsai an ultimatum: it's either them or me. And that's just according to the reports that's floating around. A lot of credible sources has been reporting it, but I still don't know if that's like entirely true. Like people in high places have been mistaken before about certain things, man. And I just don't understand why this would get leaked in the first place. I don't see Kevin Durant going in and giving him the ultimatum and coming out and finding some media, some member of the media and saying, "Hey, leak this out to the public." But I do see the Brooklyn Nets probably doing that same thing because it's almost like sicking the dogs on somebody, because hey, I'm gonna let the press know what Kevin Durant just gave me an ultimatum to do, and I'm gonna let them handle them in public, and I can see that happening. But let me play for you really quick what I said when we first discussed Kevin Durant requesting that trade, and what I was telling everybody what should happen to fix the situation. And then I'll come back and I'll explain why I thought all that. And the best example for the basketball I have for superstars being on the court playing for a franchise where they hate the GM is Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, and Jerry Krause. They absolutely hated Jerry Krause. Yeah, they absolutely hate it. So you don't have to be best friends with your GM to be able to play for it. But I do think the relationship with your coach need to be good, and I think that's the issue with Steve Nash. If Kevin Durant and Kyrie feels like Steve Nash and Sean Marks are one and the same, you might have to do what LeBron did with Cleveland: get rid of David Black, bring in Ty Lue or whatever. I mean, they kept David Griffin as the GM, but I think what the Nets should do, if they cannot find a trade package that suits them, is that owner needs to come down and talk to Kyrie and KD and say, what can I do to fix this? And it's probably going to look like firing Sean Marks, firing Steve Nash, and bringing in two guys that's not rookies, right? Yeah. So the reason why I was on point with that is because I just pay attention to what's going on, right? We all know that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving was a package deal coming to Brooklyn. We all know that they're real life friends off the court. Outside of basketball, they're real life friends, right? So they go stick by each other. They go ride or die for each other, right? So just from the beginning of last season, let's just bring it back just a little bit. From the beginning of last season, Kyrie Irving decides, I'm not going to get vaccinated, right? So he was, one of the only guys on the team that wasn't getting vaccinated, and everyone thought that the Brooklyn Nets was a championship team coming into the season. So you can understand the frustration of the front office saying, dog it, man, our second best player, we got a big three with Harden, KD, and Kyrie Irving. We couldn't get them healthy in the playoffs together. They dropped like flies one by one. And here it is, we think we're coming into the season healthy, and we got one obstacle, our second best player not getting the vaccine. So I understand the frustration. However, you can be frustrated and still stick by your player. This isn't a decision that Kyrie Irving made to say, I want to take 5 months off for just some sabbatical or something like that. This is something that you can't foresee. This is like not even basketball related at all. It wasn't his fault. He didn't ask New York to put a mandate on the entire city. He didn't ask that, right? So he was ready to play. He was in shape. He was healthy. He was ready to go, and he had to stop because he wasn't vaccinated. So the first thing you would want to do as a front office and a head coach and as an owner, if you really sticking by your player, is make lemonade with the lemons you was given. So the lemons is okay, your second best player is not vaccinated. How you make lemonade with those lemons is say, okay, so we got them for about 48 games. Let's make the best of this situation for those 48 games. Instead of doing that, their first mistake was, well, we're going to play hardball with our second best player, and we're going to suspend him, and we're going to dock half his paycheck in hopes that will force him into a corner to make a decision about his personal, his body that he didn't want to make initially. Here, we all knew he wanted to get religious exemption from taking the vaccination, and he thought he was going to be granted religious exemption, and he wasn't allowed, right? And even if he was allowed, New York, it didn't matter. The mandate was the mandate. So their first mistake was, we're not going to stick by you. We're going to play hardball with you, and we're going to try to force you to get the shot by suspending you and taking your pay, right? That still didn't work. Dumbest decision instead of you taking the lemons and making lemonade, you took the lemons and said, we don't want the lemons. We want something. We want kiwi or whatever. So they wanted Kyrie full time. You can't get him full time, so we're not going to take him half time. So get rid of the lemons. Either we get kiwi, or we don't want no juice at all. So now you get KD out there playing by himself and Harden out there playing at probably 45% with that hamstring, and him also being out of shape from not being able to work out during the summer because of the hamstring, and a supporting cast that was better suited for a big three. Like when you have a big three, that's most of your money tied up into three players. So the players you put around a big three are very supplemental players. They're either young guys who are not demanding a lot of money contract wise, or older guys who are forfeiting a lot of money to try to play for a championship. And that's what they had. They had guys like Blake Griffin, Lamarcus, Aldridge. Hey, I won a championship. I'm old. I'm a hop on this gravy train with these three superstars, take a pay cut. Hopefully that works. And then you got these young guys like Hisler and Cam Thomas and those guys, who are still wet behind the ears, right? So you can't afford to lose your second best player of a big three and have the third best player of a big three at 45% because of a hamstring, and then have your one superstar of your big three trying to carry the load of some old guys and some young guys. Just not fair. And what happened? They struggled. Kevin Durant was doing too much, and he ended up getting hurt. So then they had to force themselves to bring Kyrie back to save the season. It was a little bit too little too late, right? Because you end up trading Harden in the middle of the season. You get Ben Simmons, he can't play. I'm going to make a long story short. What they did was jacked up. And from the decisions they made from the very beginning to suspend Kyrie, it all backfired on them in the first round, and everything hit the fan. Boston made them look really bad, made KD look bad, made Steve Nash look bad, made Sean Marks look bad. They made the whole Brooklyn Nets look bad. And the only thing they could do as a front office of Steve Nash and Sean Marks is blame it on Kyrie. We wouldn't have been in this situation if Kyrie would have got the vax. So not only did they blame it on Kyrie, they also decided we're not even going to offer him the max contract. Why? I guess they was done with him. I think they were so frustrated that they had a bad season and they didn't have no choice but to have a scapegoat, which was Kyrie. They had no choice. So they get in the front office amongst themselves, Sean Marks and Steve Nash. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? we're tired of Kyrie Irving. Let's not offer him a deal. Let's let him play on this 1 year option. Let him take the option and let him play on that, or we'll trade him. You can go seek a trade. That's what they told him, right? So they pretty much was telling them we're done with Kyrie, knowing that he and KD is a package deal, right? Knowing that him and KD are really good friends, right? So you alienate KD because you're frustrated with Kyrie, and it looks real bad. KD plays back and say, I'm not going to get involved, because he probably thought a deal was going to get done. When the deal didn't get done, he was like, oh, shoot, what the heck? Kyrie opts in, playing his 1 year deal, and KD was like, look, I locked myself up for 4 years because I wanted to play with Kyrie for 4 years, and y'all telling me he's on the way out. Y'all gonna let him play on this 1 year contract, and then y'all gonna let him walk after that? That's not what I signed up for, right? So this whole time, the relationship between Sean Marks and Steve Nash is getting very sour when it comes to Kyrie and KD. You can't offend Kyrie that way and not also offend KD. I don't know what they thought this was, right? So I knew what was going on. Well, I didn't know. I could perceive what was going on. I was like, this ain't go in right? And then when KD requested the trade, I knew immediately it had something to do with Kyrie's contract, and I knew that Steve Nash and Sean Marks had taken a position against Kyrie, which also means they're taking a position against KD, right? So KD requested a trade, and now we found out why he requested a trade. He won't out because of Steve Nash and Sean Marks. Now, really quick, what's wrong with Steve Nash if everyone says, well, Kyrie Irving or KD handpicked Steve Nash, or at least KD signed off on Steve Nash? I don't know if he came to Joe Tsai and said, hire Steve Nash, but I'm pretty sure when they said, what do you think about Nash? He was like, oh yeah, he was over there with the Warriors with me. I can rock with Steve Nash, right? So he signed off on getting Steve Nash. So a lot of people think, well, if you handpick a coach or if you sign off on a coach, that means you gotta ride with him forever? No. If the coach is trash, and if the coach ruins the relationship with you, you're not going to sit there and say, well, I got to deal with it because I handpicked them. Hell no, that's not how it works. Because guess who also handpicked head coaches and fired them? Team owners, general managers. It doesn't matter. If you're in charge of hiring a coach, you can also fire that coach, right? So if Sean Marks hired Steve Nash and wasn't satisfied with him, he can fire Steve Nash. Just like if Kevin Durant handpicked Steve Nash and he wasn't satisfied with the results, he can fire Steve Nash or suggest that he be fired. So the fact that y'all saying that Kevin Durant handpicked him, he shouldn't have any business trying to fire him, that gives him all the business to fire him or suggest him getting fired. So we can end that narrative, right? Yeah, I vouched for him. I thought it would be good. He wasn't. He's got to go. Example, LeBron James. They bring in Black. I don't know if LeBron vouched for him, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to bring in Black and not speak to their best player. And at some point, LeBron James was done with Black. Get him out of here. They got Ty Lue in there. The rest is history, right? This isn't the first time someone has not meshed with a coach and wanted him out of here. It's not the first time somebody not messed with a general manager and wanted him out of here. I mean, we had a great coach who won a championship in Rick Carlisle in Dallas. Didn't mesh well with Luka. He's out of there. Don Nelson, as a president or GM, he didn't mesh well. He's out of there. It's a superstar-driven league, right? You look amongst the whole league, there's only one KD on that level. There's only one KD that can do what KD does, right? Now, as far as players on KD's level, you want to think of someone like LeBron, Giannis, maybe Steph. The list is very small. There's about 4 or 5 guys that is on Kevin Durant's level. Now, when you think about someone on the coaching level of Steve Nash, well, that's any ex-player. Yeah, you can go grab any player that used to play, and he can do what Steve Nash doing. Look at Ime Udoka out coaching Steve Nash in the first round to the point where they swept him. Steve Nash couldn't make not one adjustment. Steve Nash was so bad in that series. I've been calling out Steve Nash and his offense the entire season. If you go back and look at any of my Brooklyn Nets rants, I always said, what the heck are Brooklyn doing with their offense? I don't see any easy points coming. They only scored because they had a great player in Kevin Durant, and that's it. I mean, they were barely making it. If he wasn't so good, they probably wouldn't have won 20 games, 25 games. Their offense was not existed. I didn't see any pin downs for Kevin Durant to get easy points. I mean, only thing it was give Kevin Durant the ball at the top of the key or on the wing, let him ISO and create, or he'll get it in the mid post every now and then, and he'll do something with that. But I didn't see anything easy, right? So the offense was not in existence all season. So I knew it was going to be trash during the playoffs. And so with Kevin Durant, if you let Mike James tell it, who was a good friend of Kevin Durant, and he was on the podcast and said that before the playoffs started, Kevin Durant called him and said, we cook. He said, we're not getting out the first round, we cook. The reason why I think that Kevin Durant said that is because he's seen what Steve Nash's game plan was. We seen what Steve Nash's game plan was first game of the series. I was thinking, because I've always said they got Patty Mills, a small guard, Seth Curry, a small guard, Kyrie Irving, a smallish guard, right? And then you got Bruce Bowen playing power forward and small forward. He's undersized. And I was looking at Boston. I'm looking at, okay, Smart is a little on the, he's not tall. He's only like 6'2", maybe 6'3", but he's very stocky and muscular. So he's going to bully Seth Curry, Patty Mills, Kyrie, any of them dudes trying to guard him, he's bullying them. And then you got the other off guards with Tatum at 6'7", 6'8", Jaylen Brown at 6'6", right? What is Seth Curry, Kyrie, and Patty Mills going to do with those guys? So I already knew they were going to be outmatched on the wings. Position 1, 2, and 3, they outmatched, right? What was going to be Steve Nash's game plan? Do you remember what his glorious game plan was in game 1? When I seen the tip-off, and I seen Boston come down court on the first play, and I seen Seth Curry face guard and Grant Williams, who is a 6'7" linebacker. He's built like a linebacker. He's built like a football player. They had Seth Curry face guarding Grant Williams. That was the game plan. They had Bruce Brown pretty much playing power forward. So he's trying to box out Al Horford. What the heck were they thinking? I get it. They probably looked at him and was like, Grant Williams is not an offensive threat. It doesn't matter who guard him. I've seen Phil Jackson do that before. I've seen Phil Jackson when they played Charlotte Hornets in the first round, and Muggsy Bogues, little 5'3" Muggsy, wasn't all that great of a shooter, right? So what the Bulls did, because you know they had that huge lineup of Ron Harper at 6'6", Jordan at 6'6", Pippen at 6'7", Robin at 6'8", and Luke Longley at 7 footer. They had a huge lineup, right? So it was genius the way Phil Jackson came out and was like, I'm gonna keep my same big lineup. I'm not gonna change put a small guy on Muggsy because he's small. I'm not gonna do that. What he did, because I think zone was still allowed. I think they just authorized zone, but he had Luke Longley stand at the free throw line. He didn't come nowhere near the 3-point line. He stood at the free throw line, in the middle of the free throw line. That was what he was doing on defense. Everyone else was guarded, but Muggsy bringing the ball up, it was nothing for him to do once he got to the top of the key, because you're not going to screen Luke Longley at the free throw line. So basically what they was doing was daring Muggsy to shoot top of the key threes every play. And what Muggsy was out there to do was be a passer, a setup man, and assist. There's nothing to set up if I'm giving you a wide open jump shot. Who's not going to take that? And it messed with Muggsy's mind. He came up and was trying so hard to hit them jump shots, man. And like he'll hit one, he might hit 2 in a row, but Phil Jackson never changed the defense. And it just drove Charlotte crazy, drove Muggsy crazy. He was obsolete. They might as well just took him out of the game. That's called genius, what he did. I see Steve Nash was trying to do that, but he had Seth Curry guarding Grant Williams, and that was going to be an issue. It just didn't work out. And then Bruce Brown was small as well. Why you got Blake Griffin, who was a perfect player to guard Grant Williams? That was a perfect series for Blake Griffin, which we seen when it was down 3-0 and they finally put Blake in, and he almost won the third quarter for him. He ran out of gas in the fourth because he ain't played in 40 games. But he single-handedly came in and gave them enough energy. Well, they won that third quarter. They were still down, I think, but they closed the gap. And he didn't even play Lamarcus Aldridge. So you undersized, you getting out rebounded. The defense ain't there. The toughness ain't there. You're small. You can't guard Jaylen Brown from getting to the rim. It was an onslaught. And then here you got Blake Griffin and Lamarcus Aldridge, who are veterans, who are poised for the playoffs. You didn't even play them, and you're playing Seth Curry on a power forward 3 times his size. It was horrible coaching, right? So I think that's what Kevin Durant probably got a glimpse of when he called his friend James and said, we cooked, because that game plan was trash and everyone knew it. Even the Boston Celtics, when they came out and looked, and then they seen Seth Curry guarding Grant was confused, like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do? All right, I'm gonna post him up then. Whatever. I guess they thought that Boston was gonna be confused for entire 7-game series from that one. Oh, Seth Curry's guarding Grant Williams. He thought Boston was just gonna be scratching their head for 7 straight games of a series. It took them 30 seconds to figure it out. Oh, we got the advantage. We'll post them up. Oh, I'm gonna crash the boards. I mean, it was simple. And then after that, there was no other adjustments that Nash made. It was just KD, save us, please. Save us. That was his genius. While Ime Udoka was just making adjustment after adjustment after adjustment, just making it seem like he had been coaching for 15 plus years. That was bad. So when you got a coach like Steve Nash, who is a dime a dozen, and then you got a player like Kevin Durant, who's a once in a lifetime. I'm sorry. Yeah, he is a once in a lifetime, not generational, once in a lifetime. Right? You got him, and then you got his package deal in Kyrie, who's another once in a lifetime player. So you got 2 of those guys, and you're telling me, well, I'm going to stay with the coach who can't get me a win in the playoffs at all, who's not proven, who's on his first job. I'm gonna stick it out with him. He can't coach superstars. He had 3. He can't coach superstars. He had 3. Even Doc Rivers got a ring with 3 superstars and made 2 straight finals with 3 superstars. Steve Nash can't coach superstars. So you telling me he's going to have a better outcome without the superstars? You think Steve Nash coaching is that great that if you remove the superstars and bring in a bunch of young guys who are fringe all-stars and below, that Steve Nash is just going to mastermind something, and maybe I can manage their attitudes better than I can manage superstars? You really think as an owner, let me get rid of my superstars and bring in Westbrook and a bunch of young guys, that Steve Nash is going to do a better job? Right? And let me not even get on Sean Marks, the guy who gets his advice from First Take and Stephen A. Smith on how to handle Kyrie Irving. Everything that Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets did with the Kyrie Irving situation and how they handled it came from Stephen A.'s mouth before it happened. Every single thing. If you want to know what Brooklyn Nets' next move is, just listen to Stephen A. Smith, because he will say something and then Sean Marks would do it. I don't know if Sean Marks is watching First Take or if he's calling Stephen A. and having conversations with him. But everything Stephen A. Smith says on TV when dealing with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving, Sean Marks actually does it. Stephen A. came on First Take and said, if I was the Brooklyn Nets, I would suspend Kyrie. Not too long after that, the Brooklyn Nets suspended Kyrie. Stephen A. Smith came on First Take the next day and said, I applaud Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets for putting their foot down. So Sean Marks got his little applause from Stephen A. Smith and ESPN for doing what Stephen A. told him to do, right? Then when they finally begged Kyrie to come back because KD got hurt, Stephen A. was pissed, came on First Take and said, I disagree with the move. I wouldn't bring him back till he got vaccinated. So that's one thing that they didn't listen to Stephen A. on, but they ain't had no choice. KD was hurt and they wanted to make the playoffs. They bring Kyrie in to save the season. Harden was gone. Come save the season, please. Right? So that was the only thing they didn't do. After that, I wouldn't offer Kyrie Irving the max was said and repeated by Stephen A. Smith until it was time to offer Kyrie the max, and they didn't offer him the max just like Stephen A. Smith suggested. Stephen A. came on and said, who's the peon now to Kyrie Irving? This is the type of stuff you do when you're puppeteering someone and they actually do what you say do and you come rub it in. That's what he was doing. He's going on TV rubbing it in Kyrie Irving's face. Right? So once Stephen A. felt like, hey man, Brooklyn Nets had their way, Steve Nash and Sean Marks got together, put a plan together, I don't know. I don't know if they're supposed to be teaching Kyrie Irving a lesson. I don't know if they're getting him back for what happened last season. They blamed him for it, but they got together and they was in cahoots on that. So everyone would think, oh, it's over. Kyrie opted into his contract. KD's locked up. The Nets won. But it was one final chess move for Kevin Durant and Kyrie. It was Kevin Durant requesting a trade. The team is done. The playoff hopes and the championship hopes that they had is done. All the money that Kevin Durant and Kyrie was going to make Joe Tsai in Brooklyn and Barclays Arena, that's going to be done. He's got to figure out a way to sell out them arenas. He's got to fill out another way, because you're not going to treat us this way and then we go come and play and make millions and millions of dollars for you. Right? If anything, at the very least, you get Kyrie a max deal, because Kyrie is going to put a sellout arena. He's going to fill it up. Kyrie and KD. It's a bonus when you go to the playoffs, advance as far as you can get and possibly the finals. That's all bonus. But remember, we're doing this for money. And the players are making the owners a lot of money. And you got to compensate me for giving you that money. So I'm already deserving of that money because of my talent and because I'm a big draw. I'm deserving of that money, right? Whether I win a championship or not. It's only one team that wins a championship every year. But almost every team got a max player on it. You can't tell a team that this player is not worth a max contract because they didn't win a championship or they didn't play in a championship. So Kyrie is already worth the money. It's already worth the money. It's not hard to figure that out. They didn't give him the money because it's punishment for the season that they had last year. And they want Kyrie Irving to prove to them that I'll be a good little boy. All right. And I do what I need to do and tap dance for that money when he's already practiced, stayed in shape, ate right, dedicated himself to the gym, and made himself a top-notch talent and already deserved the money. And you trying to make him earn it again by tap dancing and saying, I can color in the lines, I'll be your good little boy, and all this good stuff, man. Even Stephen A. Smith suggested that you put a clause in his contract that he has to play 70 games to get his money guaranteed. And lo and behold, it gets leaked out that the contract that they offered him actually had that clause in it that he had to play 70 games. And I can point to any superstar, whether it's AD, LeBron, Curry, Kawhi, PG-13, KD. I can go down the line, Luka, and ain't none of them play 70 games. So You can't tell me as a front office GM that you're that incompetent that you would put a clause of 70 games in a contract for a guy who plays hard enough and gets injured and nicked up often. So it just naturally he's not going to make 70. And then if you look at every other superstar on his level, they're not even playing 70. And it's not hard to tell where you got the idea of 70 from, because Stephen A repeated it multiple times, and he's an idiot because where he gets 70 from, it makes no sense. You're just throwing numbers out there. And Stephen A is doing it for entertainment, and partially because he dislikes Kyrie personally. So he's trying to entertain, he's trying to bring ratings to his show, he's trying to make money for his bosses, he's doing all that stuff, but it's also he don't like Kyrie personally. And you mean to tell me something that Stephen A said on TV about 70 games made it to a contract for a GM that's supposed to be competent? So those are the two guys that owner Joe Tsai is gonna let his ego get in the way of letting KD and Kyrie go. You're gonna pick Nash and Marks over KD and Kyrie. That's not common sense. That's ego. Because I don't want no one to look at me like Kevin Durant is running this franchise. So he's going to stand on his own two nuts and say, I'm siding with my front office. Why? Why are you siding with that front office? They trash at best. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand that. Why are you siding with that front office? Get rid of them. You can find someone way better, I promise you. But your ego is in your way. Pride always come before the fall. So we go see how this is going to turn out. He's already came out publicly and said that he's siding with his front office. We'll see how long that lasts. It shouldn't last long. I hope it don't. But I wouldn't trade Kevin Durant or Kyrie. I would let go of Marks, let go of Nash, bring in two very competent and capable guys. Someone who can manage superstars the way Pat Riley and Spoelstra managed their superstars. Someone very competent, right? And managing superstars is not about always dictating. It's give and take. You got to know when to put your foot down, and you got to know when, hey man, I'm here because of this guy. You want to be on the team with your superstar. I mean, as much as the Bulls, Michael Jordan, Pippen, didn't like Steve Krause, at least, not Steve Krause, but Jerry Krause, at least Phil Jackson was like this with his players. You can't have both of them against him. How I'm not gonna like my own coach? How my coach? It just don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. It's an easy decision for me. As soon as KD would have said that, I would have never leaked it. I would have went in there and told Sean Marks to resign. Send me your resignation so it won't look like you got fired. Send me your resignation, and then we'll let First Take. I'll figure out why he resigned and all that stuff, and they can speculate, but they'll never know the truth, right? Give me your resignation, and then the new GM I hire will fire Steve Nash, and they would have never known that it was a request from Kevin Durant. They would have never known. But instead, you do another bad move, and you leak the information out, and now you got another shitstorm. This is the worst franchise in the league all of a sudden. And they're about to lose two superstars. But let me get to these comments before I get out of here. What percentage blame would you dish out for this not working between KD, the GM, the owner, Kyrie, and Steve Nash? 0% to KD, 0% to Kyrie, and I'm going 100% Steve Nash and Sean Marks. I mean, it's 100% their fault. I mean, you can't blame Kyrie Irving for not getting a vax. You can't blame them. People want to and say, oh, you should get vaccinated. That's what people want to do. Yeah, you should get vaccinated. Don't make no sense to me. I think that's non-basketball related. That's your decision. It ain't got nothing to do with basketball. He was ready to play. But like I said, when someone gives you lemons or life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You don't throw the lemons away because you don't want a sour drink. Lemonade is kind of sweet if you put some sugar on it. They could have put sugar on that situation with Kyrie. All right, man, we only got you for 45 games or whatever, right? 41 games. I'm sorry, we only got you for 41 games, but we gonna make the best out of it. Nah, you suspended without pay because you're not vaccinated, and you can't even be around the team, comes to the arena, none of that, because you suspended, right? Dumbest decision. That was the first bad decision they made. Kyrie Irving not getting vaccinated wasn't a bad decision. Them suspending him was a bad decision. That was dumb. Then after that, they let you know how dumb that decision was because it backfired and they had to bring him back. That tells you how dumb it was. I told you I wasn't sold on the Steve Nash hiring. It could have worked. Because it don't take a rocket science or a great coach to coach a big three. They went and got a big three with Harden, KD, and Kyrie. And the team that beat them in the game 7 because Kevin Durant's foot was too long on the game winner end up winning the championship. If the Nets was healthy, I think that was their championship. But the Nets wasn't healthy. Kyrie Irving messed his ankle up real bad. And then James Harden messed his quad up real bad, or his ham. So that was gonna win it despite Steve Nash. But as far as a coach, Steve Nash is on the level of I don't know. I mean, he's at the lowest level in my opinion. I'm trying to think of a name. I would say Stan Van Gundy, but I think Stan Van Gundy might be a little bit better than Nash. So I knew Steve Nash wasn't going to cut it when Blake, Lamarcus, Aldridge, and Drummond was getting no tick. That's facts. He didn't know what he was doing. If I remember correctly, Ime came from the Popovich tree. Correct. Came from the Popovich tree. But that's all I wanted to get on here and say, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. Brooklyn Nets is a dumb organization. Joe Tsai, he blew the bag, man. Catch y'all on the next one.